Is Neeb confident enough not to have studied soO and not to really try and adjust to his playstyle, or does he focuses more on himself?
I mean, his personality suggests that he takes this more seriously than anything else, and the results certainly seem to show it. Of course, a little bit of some of soO's action so far. How crazy is it that soO is not the topic of the conversation for this matchup, because Neeb already beat Rogue, he already beat the best Zerg, and soO, well, how often do we have this conversation where it's like, yeah, the Korean's the underdog against the foreigner?
And that does feel weird. And the thing is, Neeb is just so magnificent in this particular matchup. With soO's record, if he was either of the other races, I think we might actually be talking about soO a bit more.
Yeah.
But like, soO is solid in all of the matchups. This guy has 6 Code S finals. 6! That in and of itself is one of the most impressive feats that we've ever seen in StarCraft 2.
And an interesting thing to note here is that the 3 maps here that they're going to play is going to be Odyssey, Ascension to Ire, and Catalina. As much as we've seen a lot of the first 2, Catalina, again, the X factor, the wild card of all of these maps is going to be in there, potentially as the decider. So it would be very interesting to see how it goes down. We did have, I guess we could say, an interesting game yesterday when Hero faced Laser on Catalina. Maybe another one of those.
Yeah, well, I don't want to delay this series any longer. Thank you very much for your thoughts, gentlemen. But it is time to see if another foreigner can make it into the top 8 to compete at BlizzCon next weekend. It is time for Neeb versus soO.
What's up, everybody? Jeff and Control Robinson here, joined by Mr. Rotterdam. We're going to be your commentators for this match, and it is a good one. As they talked about, Neeb is the big dog here in the foreigner scene. He's going to be going up against one of the most accomplished Korean Zergs. I guess we would call Rogue perhaps the hottest, if you agree with Todd. But soO on that short list of like top 2 or 3.
I always agree with Todd, otherwise I'm in trouble, Jeff.
You don't want to be in trouble, Todd. No trouble, Todd.
No, I'm sorry. I couldn't agree more. I'm super excited for this match. What a way to start off this final deciding day of the opening week. Special making it out in the first place. I mean, with a group with Stats and TY.
In dominating fashion. I know, he 2-0'd him. Strong.
We've seen those games so often, but then the result was always the other way around. It was, we had our hopes up for someone like Special, and now it's time to find out if the WCS Circuit event can go 2 for 2. As we're looking at the main base of the American Protoss representing Ting, it is Neeb.
Always thinking. And his opponent, one of the most powerful Zergs on planet Earth. In the lower right-hand side, it's soO. And this is going to be a doozy of one. Thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully you're excited for today. Today is Elimination Day. We figure out who the top 8 are for Anaheim, and there's just so many good matches. And as Rotterdam said, we already started off with a doozy of one. Really excited about it. And this hopefully doesn't disappoint, because I don't know, Kevin, on paper, is this the best of what we had to go? I feel like it was.
When of the 4 matches?
Yeah.
I liked all 4, actually.
Well, oh, wow. That caster answer.
I'm sorry, mate. I got to go there. I mean, Gumiho versus Innovation. Even if you're not a Terran player, you got to be excited for that. I mean, Dark versus Hero. That could be the final of any Korean tournament. Special versus TY. That was the one I was looking least forward to. Because I thought it was going to be a little bit of a beatdown, but the other way around. And I'm so happy I was wrong. It was great to see. But yeah, this one does stand out, at least for me, because, you know, we're Protoss players. And Neeb has been absolutely fantastic throughout the entire year, even last year, and particularly in this matchup.
What I want to say is we kind of draw attention to the openings of this first game here. I really like what Todd talked about in the sense that sometimes soO gets a little bit repetitive. Another spin on that word would be predictable, and I've seen Neeb over the course of WCS break away from what you would expect from him to do a timing attack, to do an all-in. Not really, he's not into the, I guess it's more timing attack than all-in is what I would describe it as, but, you know, there can be an argument that a timing attack isn't all-in, but he will do that kind of stuff. You gotta look out.
Yeah, throughout the year, Neeb has shown us a couple of cool things on Odyssey. One map that really stands with me was when he played against Sort of in Yon Chopping, where he opened up with what seemed like a regular Resonating Glaze opening, but suddenly he got 2 Archons incredibly fast as well. Or it was the other way around. It was like, I'm doing a DT drop, and then suddenly 8 gate or like 6 gate with a bunch of adapts as well. Just very unique, something we've rarely seen. Incredibly good to punish greedy Zergs. Now, I'm not sure if I would really describe soO as an incredibly greedy Zerg.
No.
soO is one of these guys that actually makes quite a few units. We already see something here. We see a 2nd gateway before anything else.
This is going to be the 6th gate, I think. I've seen him do this.
Not super common.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about a lot of adepts. This is, and of course, he can always kind of duck out of this. He doesn't have to fully commit to it. So if like Speed Overlords show up or something gets in his base, he might do that. Or it's just the opening. But He is going to move away from the Stargate a little bit here. No, there's the Stargate. Never mind.
So he does get the Stargate. Maybe it's just going to be one of these 4 to 6 adepts move outs with 1 or 2 oracles, and you try to catch a couple of queens that are exposed and out of position. Now, Odyssey is one of these maps where you do have to be cautious as a Protoss player, because there is a gold base, and in general, gold bases favor Zerg a little bit more than they favor Protoss. But soO has not done anything crazy. There are a few Zergs out there who like to go straight towards the gold, even on this map. But soO decides to play it very normal so far.
And I like this. He's been very good about this as part of kind of just his opening no matter what. Getting that Adept out there early and often. So it's not going to do a lot of damage in and of itself, but it forces the Zerg to key in on it. It denies a little bit of scouting on the Zerg side from Lings or something like that, and then it gets him informed on what he's facing. Yes, it is 3 bases. Yes, there are 4 to 6 Lings out there and a couple of Queens. So a good idea here from Neeb to just get that kind of just baseline of information.
Yep, it's a scout. It absolutely is, because if you play against a Link flood, you want to identify it as quickly as possible. And your first Adept can already see something is up. You know, why is he popping out more Links? Why are there so many or so few drones in the natural? So even though this didn't look very meaningful, Neeb just makes sure everything is the way it's supposed to be.
I think he might have hit the Adept count. Sorry to cut in there. They're going to get found here, of course, as they have to. But I think when that Overlord floated by, he actually moved a few back off to the side. Just kind of, again, limit the information for as long as he could.
This is a little bit annoying, because I think he already wants to move out, but you don't want to have these Links show up in your main base. But soO decides to go all the way home, which is nice for Neeb, because now he can start shading out. That's a lot of Adepts. That's like 7 or 8 Adepts. First Stasis Ward goes down. We'll still get... wow, gets the Queen.
Eggs.
And the Queen. Didn't expect that.
All of that was good. That's something that in the patch after BlizzCon is going to get fixed, because it might be too powerful, but even freezing the eggs is like a guaranteed effect on the economy.
Jeff, that's a lot of Adepts. There's only 14 Lings out right now for soO. He does have 5 Queens, but obviously not all Queens are together, and one of them is frozen as well. This can actually get a little bit dicey very quickly. Do we have units on the way? Only 6 Zerglings. I'm curious to see how this plays out. This could actually get quite ugly for soO.
It could, and one of the common moves here is to shade up here, have the Adepts joined up by that Oracle. They jump on top of that Queen that was just coming out of a Stasis Ward. A lot of Lings go down almost immediately, and the Queens are going to have a tough time. There's not a creep to me they're connecting, so they're slow to move in here.
Yep, a couple of drones are absolutely going to fall. One Queen went down already. Neeb is going to let the Shade finish up. He's going to get those Lings as well. Maybe one more Queen on the low ground, or if not, at least a few more drones. Already a very successful opening for the American Protoss.
Yep, he's able to shade away here. He actually only lost one of the 2 kind of deep red Adepts. Some Lings are going to get pursuit here. But there is still enough Adepts out there that they have to be careful. I don't know that they're the Alpha Predator just yet, but 3 Stargates in total coming up behind this as well.
Yep, and the third Nexus is already being warped in, and don't forget he kept both Oracles alive, which is very, very important. So he doesn't really have much to worry about when it comes to a counter. Look at this Queen count. Are we going to see a Queen Nidus, perhaps? Because I feel this is already going up to 7 Queens in this phase in the game.
I think you might be right.
That's a few too many for me, Jeff.
Okay, so these Lings are going to try to get in there, but it is going to be sealed up by that Adept that then kind of steps forward. Now, one of the weird things, and you were right on that call, Kevin, you're very smart. There's already a lot of Adepts out here, and there's 3 Stargates now producing Oracles. I'm actually really worried for soO.
Yep, and don't forget that the Queens already have used a couple of transfusions as well, so they're not sitting there.
Mothership Core's full energy, I think?
They're not sitting there at 120, 130 energy. These Lings are absolutely not going to get a cancel on this Nexus. There's way too many Adepts and pilots. This is a good scout. Yes, he loses an Oracle, but he's like, oh my god, that's so many Queens.
And they're all together.
Yep, spots there is no second guess in the main as well as the Observer showing. Neeb should realize right now what's going on. He's got a safety Void Ray, and he's got Oracles. What I would love to see is just try to kill that Nidus network as quickly as you can.
And produce as many units as
Where's
you can.
Where's it going down? Oh, it's going down in the main. Does he see that with the pilot?
It's right next to the pilot. Of course he sees it, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Already moving everything towards the north side of the map. Excellent respawn so far by Neeb, but you need to get the Mothership Core there as well, though. He could use Recall, maybe.
He could have double Photon Overcharge here as well.
Yeah, but there are Links at the third base. This is actually kind of a dicey fight right now for Neeb. Where is that Mothership Core? He really needs some overcharges.
And he's going to go ahead and take this fight at the top end side here. Here's that Mothership Core. It's going to overcharge the Queens. Very hardy, though, shooting down most of this Air Force. And now Roach is joining in on this as well. soO turning this attack really well for himself, I believe. That third base taking huge damage. 15 probes die in the background, and the Adepts are just not enough to clean this up.
Yep, there's still a couple of Queens as well. Overcharge is still doing some damage. Neeb gets the wall up there, which is important because he cannot afford to lose more probes. This looked good for Neeb, but soO is actually doing some very serious damage here in the main. I think he should have tried to recall the Mothership Core to have faster overcharges.
Maybe, or even having the overcharge at the third to save that against the Lings or something. And he also didn't need to fight there. Like, he didn't have the force to go after the Nidus Worm, so like engage, back up, let the queens get away from the creep or something like that, and then perhaps fight there. But
good
here
micro
and there.
too. Excellent micro, saving those queens. He's going to put them back in the Nidus as well. A few more roaches pop out. Perhaps eventually Neeb might stabilize here. He's still only down 7 workers. He's not down and out, but soO has done a tremendous amount of damage.
This is soO's game to lose. He's going to be threatening the main in here, actually building some spore crawlers, I think that is right there, which means the Air Force is going to be a lot less effective. But these roaches are such a nuisance. Like any adepts that get warped in are just, that's not the job. And that's it. GG soO with the decisive victory on a nice timing attack there. Really nice strategy.
Absolutely, especially because early game it really didn't go that well for him. Neeb even had the pylon spread out. He saw the Nidus network go up quite quickly. Neeb perhaps wondering why did that go wrong. I really think that maybe the air unit count wasn't high enough. I think if you fight the queens, you need to have overwhelming damage, or you don't fight it immediately. Like you said, you can maybe fall back a little bit. I think the mothership core was too late, too far out of position. Since he didn't recall it, he still lost all the probes at the turret base anyway. He was bringing it over. I think a recall to the main would have been a lot better.
I also have to give a tip of the hat to soO's defense of the early game shenanigans. Yes, I do think that Neeb comes out of that slightly ahead, but he lost lings, he lost a queen or two, he lost some mining time, but what he didn't lose was like a bunch of drones. And if you do a timing attack after that, which I guess, let's take out the if, because you just don't. You don't get to do a timing attack after that if you lose a bunch of drones. But soO was able to make that happen because his economy was mostly untouched. Then it became a question of composition. Those roaches were incredibly unupgraded, but they just represent such a threat to adepts. They tank well, they give some space for the queens to do their low DPS to the Air Force. It just all synergized very well.
Yeah, it just feels like whenever you fight queens, it's always a one-sided battle, right? Either you do nothing or you pop them all at once. And the moment you can't really kill them all at once, that's where it starts going back for the Protoss. Gotta give credits to soO as well for his micro, putting a couple of those low HP queens back, putting them back in the Nidus as well, saving them, unloading them again. He did everything right. I think on Neeb's side, he could have done things a little bit better, but soO takes the 1-0 lead.
And it's just a short best of 3 too. That's kind of the, it's unfortunate for the players, but it's cool for us as watchers. This is an incredibly tense situation. Neeb was all the talk of the town just a couple days ago, doing so well for himself, but here he is, 0-1 to soO, who's no slouch. And all of a sudden, if he goes down 0-2, he could be actually looking to not even make it to BlizzCon next weekend.
Yep, because obviously the loser of this match is going to have to go up against Rogue once again.
Good luck.
And that's a very, very scary opponent.
All right, guys, we're in here in game number 2. Lower right-hand side from America, it's the Blue Protoss, Neeb.
And over here on the left top side of Ascension to Aya, we're looking at the main base of our Korean Zerg. It is soO.
Well, mental tenacity is going to be tested. soO, one of the most finished Zerg and just StarCraft 2 players of the year. He's been on, in so many finals. He's going to be able to ride this out. Neeb himself been in a lot of finals, but he's been on mostly the winning side. So now he's trailing 0-1 in a best of 3, very short. He's got 1 game to give in the next 2 in order to make it past soO and into that round of 8 at BlizzCon, which, by the way, the money, I know we don't talk too much about this, guys, but everyone gets $14,000. That's a lot of money. But my God, does it scale up pretty darn quickly. Like, second place it's a $100,000 difference from third. I think they're doing that again. It's insane.
It really is. Neeb is opening up with a Nexus first here. Not something we see ultra often at the highest level of play. You see it now every now and then, but often on maps with a pocket expand. Obviously, Ascension to Aya does not have a pocket expand, but it is a pretty large map, and I guess Neeb was just very confident his opponent wasn't going to open up in an early pool. And even if they do, you can still change your mind because he was scouting. You can still decide to go for the gateway or even the forge if you want to play it super safe. So it's not crazy, it's just very economic.
Yeah, with that probe scout, it's a very safe thing to do. And he is going to see pretty normal stuff here from soO. It'll be interesting to see what soO follows that up with, because the other kind of advantage for soO is that in game number 1, that strategy is a timing attack. He doesn't show what he's thinking about tech-wise or composition-wise, how he wants to handle Neeb. He just showed a pocket strategy, so to speak. So it was just very much so like a, yep, that worked good. Now all the stress is on Neeb, and soO can reach into his bag. And he has a game to give, too, if he wants to do another all-in.
Speed is on the way. We'll see how this one plays out. I don't think that Neeb is going to switch things up too much. Obviously, Neeb is somebody who is comfortable with a more ground-heavy composition as well when it comes to Archons, Immortals, High Templars. He's great with everything in this matchup, but I think he's just a massive fan of the Stargate. Opening up one gate Stargate is good for a million reasons. You get all the information, but it's also safe against any sort of weird early all-in. It's actually going to be the Twilight console now. Could be multiple things, could be Resonating Glaives, can also just be an Archon opening.
And this is fitting right into what we knew was one of the strengths of Neeb, is that he's coming into this not with like, this is the one build that he's depending on, this is the one composition. He is the Protoss race, basically. We've seen all kinds of different openings from him within the boundaries of what works in that meta matchup. But he's an all-purpose threat. Like you said, he does feature the ground army more often than not, but I mean, think back to the most iconic game of day one, and it was the Golden Armada against Rogue. But I do like the commentary from the guys on the couch where they talked about how soO kind of doesn't want it to go to mega late game. Zerg a lot of times don't feel comfortable there for a lot of the reasons we saw from Rogue. And in that case, by the way, Neeb is extremely comfortable dragging the game there.
So we do see the Dark Shrine being warped in. There's a robotics facility as well, but soO has Overlord speed, so he's going to get all the information that he needs as he spots the additional gateways, and he's going to spot that Dark Shrine as well. Now, this is absolutely not a disaster for Neeb. Obviously, if it hits as a surprise, it's a lot better. But Neeb will still be able to force out a couple of Spore Crawlers, and he can still micro around with his Warp Prism a little bit to even things up.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a throwback. This was the build for the longest time, and it was only really when well, it's been a little bit of time. I'd call it like 6 or 7 months now, where the Stargate has just been the absolute go-to in PvZ. But before that, for almost a year, this was what everyone was doing. And part of the reason why it kind of took a little bit more of a backseat is Zergs became more comfortable in dealing with it. But again, like Kevin said, it's not the end of the world that it was scouted. It's just that both players are agreed upon this thing that they've done a bunch of times now, so it gets a little bit interesting. But Kevin at the beginning too talked about how, well, what if he adds like 4 or 5 more gateways and does a timing attack?
You know what I like there? soO left a couple of links on the right top side, and that's super annoying because while this Warp Prism heads out, Neeb already wants to go up to 3 bases very quickly. One Adept actually doesn't have that much DPS. You want to be very careful. This is going to force Neeb to warp in. He's actually going to use 4 Dark Templars to jump on this Spore. soO, where are your units? He's going to lose his Spore Crawler, and that is a disaster because the layer is not done yet.
Nope, no lair, no hatch here.
He should go for the hatch.
Absolutely. One of the Dark Templars just kind of pushing the queens back. He needs to be careful, though. Maybe he's looking to see if there's a Overseer or something coming up.
I mean, he doesn't know. Obviously, Neeb does not know what we know. Wow, soO was kind of bluffing over there. He's like, hey, I'm coming. I've got detection.
Let's go, girls.
That was a big bluff by soO, but it worked out there.
Yep.
Well done by soO. That could have been disastrous if he would have lost that hatchery.
It's one of the kind of cool mind games between 2 very good players. It's
bad.
soO sold it, and Neeb believed it because he's that good. He's like, yeah, I could see you having a lair right now, for sure.
And this is rough for Neeb because Neeb was forced to warp in that far end. He was temporarily walled into his own base. He still doesn't have that Nexus. This is 5 minutes and 40 seconds. Protoss players like to get their Nexus before the 5th minute mark, and there are still links that could have potentially jumped on the Adept, but excuse me, the Probe. Instead, they're going to go for the Adepts, and they will clean that up as well. Wow, this is not a good game for Neeb at all.
Nope. He's going to be able to go ahead and defend those units, but the Nexus will be cancelled. No question about it.
Warp Prism is active in the main, though. Neeb really needs to start doing some damage on the other side of the map. Not sure if he got much done there. The Dark Templars have morphed into Archons. soO is playing great. Just a couple of small things here and there, but he's doing everything right.
To have the Lings out there still buying some time on that 3rd base is a huge deal. Oh my gosh, the forces just got pulled back.
I think this time he might be able to save the neck. No, it's going to be cancelled again. Wow, soO.
And as you said, the Warp Prism not really accomplishing much. Usually this Warp Prism is maybe not accomplishing much, but you're absolutely getting a 3rd behind this.
Yeah, it's supposed to be done already by now.
Neeb had to add gateways because of that pylon block, and then he's had to cancel and restart his Nexus twice now over at that 3rd. So is he down and out, guys? No, absolutely not, but it has not been the start that he was looking for.
Those links that soO had on the other side of the map, they have been incredibly important for soO. Now soO can just start massing Hydras. Zealot is out of position as well, so these links are going to make their way into the main base. They're going to force Neeb to be distracted, probably ends up losing a few probes as well. One Zealot is not going to be enough. The Archons are going to try to do some damage in the main, but that spawning pool positioning makes it really hard for that Prism.
Oh my god, the Warp Prism was taking some damage. Okay, no. They're not. They're like literally made of glass, so
What would you like to see? If I was soO right now, I wouldn't try to think of anything else. I'd just make pure Roach Hydra and run across the map and try to win.
Yep. He already saw the charge. That Zelt was in position, but it wasn't on hold position. So he knows that basically the composition of Neeb doesn't get scary until Storm, and he's probably a ways away from Storm.
Now there is, of course, the power of the Sentry. You have to go up a ramp.
This has got to go, by the way. He can't keep doing this.
Neeb and War Prism.
Get a couple of shots, man, but get out of here.
Yeah.
Those Hydras on the top. Get. Okay, it's going to get out here.
At least he knows about this army right now running across the map. Okay, Lurker then is already morphing. That's pretty smart by soO as well. soO obviously would like to get a fight, and if there are no sentries, he would always get a good fight. But going up a ramp can be difficult. I'm very curious to see how both players... Oh, Neeb is out of position. He doesn't have vision of the bottom of his ramp. He's going to spot this army, but that's going to allow these forces of soO to get up the ramp.
And they're going to come in here. There's an Immortal still inside that natural. These Archons bleeding a little bit too far forward. Guardian Shield does go up. Nice force fields. Kind of cleaving off half this force. Without the War Prism to pull back the Wounded Archons, though, he's going to take more losses than I think he's comfortable with. Some Roach is going to go forward. Another tier of force fields go down, but there's so much Zerg here trading out units, and now with the Archons gone, this is not looking good.
Yep, without the Archons, it's going to get very, very tricky. These Hydra are still doing some damage in the ramp as well. A couple of Zealots have been walked in here, but that's one gate down. The Cybernetic score is most likely going to fall. That Overcharge keeps that base safe for now. Can Neeb somehow hang in there?
He's going to pull the probes. It's not enough.